basically, I've reached the conclusion that religion done its part. I don't know, in the first centuries when it was needed because people were behaving. We didn't have so much spiritual growth as we have today through all the science and technology and discoveries, and we didn't have that much understanding of the morality. And religion was useful in the first centuries, but now it's more of holding people down and preventing them from flourishing. And I agree with that. But the thing I wanted to debate with you is the family, because religion is, through all its means, like, okay, don't have sex before marriage, have one partner for life, and all this kind of things. They encourage the family, but that is, according to even to the sociologists, the basic unit of the society. And I was wondering, how do you view this point?
I don't think that.
I think there are many societies that don't have sex before marriage. There are societies that don't understand the concept of marriage, and there are definitely societies where there are multiple partners. I mean, there's all kinds of models. I'm kind of confused by why you're choosing like very specific things and basically saying that is somehow more beneficial than any of these other models that have been used in human cultures through history.
Right. I don't know. It's because according to many sociology studies, family is regarded as the most important social institution.
Well, hold on, though. I mean, are we talking about socialist studies of Western culture, where these are the family units, as opposed to other cultures where they're not?
Okay, I thought like the family is a concept that is applied globally, not necessarily just to Western cultures, and I didn't.
The concept of family the concept of family is a global concept, but what constitutes a family is not the same in every culture.
It doesn't manifest in the same way.
Right.
But I mean, there are some societies, for example, where people are encouraged to have sex with multiple partners. And I don't know that that's really a problem. And in fact, there are some benefits that are endowed with the children because a lot of the partners come together to act as parents to the child, which is, by some research, has indicated is actually beneficial to those particular children to have more adults that are invested in them as parents. So I think there's other models.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going. But I guess my idea is, if you were going to talk about a benefit of religion on family, I don't think I would go for this is again like with the last caller, the list of rules. I don't think the list of rules necessarily how to do it. Families are flexible, right? And so when you're dealing with where I thought you were going to go with this is interesting, because I gave a talk on family values, religion and family values.
Yeah, I know. I watched your talk. Congratulations for it.
And thank you. And one of the things that I did differentiate during the talk, and hopefully it was in the one that you watched, I did say that there were different types of religions, and that not all religions were harmful to families, right? That there was a particular type of religious structure that was harmful.
Yeah, let's say I was just talking about the modern Christianity, not about any other religions.
Right.
Is there a particular reason to focus on that one?
But I mean, I'm okay with that. But still, the issue that I was dealing with in the talk, for example, was that we still have many modern forms of Christianity that are very authoritarian, right? That tear families apart.
Right.
And then we have other forms of Christianity that are very liberal, where they basically encourage family development. And if somebody doesn't subscribe necessarily to the religion, you don't throw the child out of the family. You still love them. You still care about them, because the religion isn't actually like absorbing the family as a tool to support the religion. That's how I described it in the talk. I said that some religions use families as a tool to support and promote the religion. Other religions allow families to use them as a family bonding experience, right? So it would be no different than when your child, I think the example I used in the talk was your child plays soccer, And so you take the family to go to the soccer practice or the soccer game, and you all participate in the soccer game. We're going to go and we're going to support, little Sally in her soccer match tonight, and we're going to go watch it and have some popcorn and enjoy the game. And so the soccer becomes like a bonding experience. But if Sally said, the next year I don't want to do soccer, nobody would be like, Sally, you have to leave the family now because soccer is the main thing. And so in that instance, the idea is that the family is using soccer because the kid likes soccer. She's into soccer. She plays soccer. They like soccer. They all bond over soccer. And then if she doesn't want to do soccer, then you find something else to bond with her. And maybe one of your other kids still plays soccer and you still go out and support that other child. But, Sally just doesn't play anymore, and that's okay. But there's other, some religions are like that, but other religions actually want to tear a family apart unless everybody subscribes to everything about the religion in the same way. And that's where I kind of thought you were going to go with it. But it sounds like where you're going is like the actual Christian construct of family being somehow superior to every other cultural construct of family.
Not necessarily. What I was thinking about is that every child who grows up, and I'm talking this from my own experience, I think it's good for the child to have both a female model and a male model through which he or she develops. And all the rules enforced, let's say, or encouraged by religion or by Christianity, whatever, let's say they act in a way that that encourages the parents to stay together at least up to the age where the child or the children are mature enough to make their own choices.
I'm actually not down with that. I'm really not down with that at all.
That leaves so many portions open, especially if people are unhappy in a marriage that it's not. I wouldn't say that would be preferable for people like an unhappy couple to stay together on that where they're making each other's lives miserable, and that can also seep into the children in their lives and the way they perceive what marriage is supposed to be in relationships.
Just to give you a couple of examples of for example, I posted something about this recently. I have a friend who was divorced, had a young son, and the divorce was amicable. And the son was fine, right? Like both parents were good to each other, good to the child, and they raised the child with the child knowing that each parent still loved him. And I mean, think about it in terms of what if your spouse dies and you're like a single parent? Then what do? You have to give your kid up to somebody who has two parent, male, female house?
No.
People can be good parents even in all kinds of situations. But then I also, when I posted about this, somebody posted and they said that they were sadly in a situation that they didn't feel like they could leave because they felt like it wouldn't be amicable, and they felt like there could be problems if they tried to initiate a divorce and raise the children, because that was not going to be a happy situation based on who they were as a family. And so if a person is in a situation where they can't say honestly to their partner, this marriage is not working, and I know we have the children, but can we be mature about this and be amicable about this and think about the kids, and you and I will get along and we'll still love the kids and still be respectful to one another and friendly to one another, and and be able to do that. I think people should be able to do that. Now, whether or not they actually can is another matter, because you can't control your partner. You can only control yourself. If you know you have a person that's on the other side of that is just not going to handle it well, and you can't get out of it without them, for example, fearing that they're going to use the children as pawns or whatever. I totally understand a decision to stay miserable and stay married, but I don't think it's optimal.
Right, and so many families can exist. There's a lot of secular families that will stay together, form strong bonds, and have that familial connection for the rest of their lives, and they didn't require religion in order to get that. It's just something that they agreed upon mutually and wanted to do and engaged in going forward. But also within what he's talking about, that the optimal situation would include having a mother and a father. It's well, where does that leave those of other sexual orientations in this worldview? Because it sounds like there was a preference.
And it reminds me of a comment that I heard Jen say one time, where she was saying that Jen is another host of the show, and she is a lesbian and she has a spouse or a wife, and they are raising a son who's probably somewhere around 10 or so. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what his age is, but she basically responded to that idea of male role models by saying that her son has plenty of male role models. Like one of the things they do is they take martial arts, like the boy takes, and I'm pretty sure he's going to see plenty of male role models at the martial arts, events. And they have friends that are men. They have relatives that are men. They have all kinds of men that are, around this boy all the time. So it's not like he's going to go through life and never see, men that could potentially show him like, what it means to be decent and male in this society.
Yeah.
I agree with all the points that you've said. My point was actually that religious encourages people, and especially young people, to form, this is just my opinion, I don't know, it might be biased on the culture I was raised in, because I was born and raised in Romania, which is, I think, the most religious country, at least in Europe. Okay. Anyway, and I think that religion encourages young people at the cultural level, even if they are not practicing. I don't know, it's a cultural thing transmitted from generation to generation, to form a family. Like, get a partner, establish a stable relationship with a partner, and try to cooperate together and not be promiscuous. That's what.
Yeah, but see that word promiscuous is such a judgment, and I know you're just trying to have a conversation and you're trying to be open and honest about your views, and I want to just tell you I appreciate that. I do appreciate it, and I do understand it, and I believe it. You come across as a sincere personality.
Sure.
So I believe that you're being completely sincere in this call, but the idea of promiscuity is like a bad thing. I definitely am not down with that at all. I don't like the word promiscuity because it comes with all kinds of negative connotations, but the fact is that sex is an activity. We are social, sexual creatures as human beings, and I think that people should be adult enough to allow for open sexual relationships and connections beyond just like one person. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not saying that in places like what I was saying before, I'm not telling anybody to do it. I'm just saying that if somebody else wants to do it, don't flip out. And if your partner wants to do it, don't flip out. It's just, this is a normal, healthy thing. And I think that these ideas of saying that that somehow a person is doing something harmful just by having other sexual connections is almost to me like saying that they're doing something harmful to have other friends, right? I just don't see sex as this negative, horrible thing that people need to avoid or restrict and control.
I agree with you, but I don't know, psychology still demonstrated the fact that if you have, let's say, 100 partners, this might lead to depression. And I personally know people, and even males, who had like 100 partners and they went depressed, and I don't know.
Okay, it's very hard to separate out the social structure, right? So we have a society here in the U.S., for example, that even we don't really look too kindly on these types of relationships. Polyamory is not highly accepted here, but it is making some inroads.
Yeah.
But what the problem is that you don't have many options because it's such a limited thing. I know people, for example, who are in open marriages who can't be out about it. I mean, this is how bad it is, where the two people involved are open about it. They agree to it. It's between them. It's no one's business. But that's not why they're not open. They're not open because they know about the social judgment and social pressure that they're going to get if they come out, and the judgments that people are going to put on them. And so when you have to hide and live this sort of restricted lifestyle where you know that you're in a minority that's being judged harshly for something that you're doing that isn't even really harmful, that can make you not happy to be so marginalized in the society. It's almost like when people would talk about trans or gay children having higher levels of depression, right? And you kind of have to look at that and say, well, look at how they're treated, and look at how they're viewed socially. And you kind of have to take into consideration that when somebody is marginalized, that's going to lend to their unhappiness. It may not be that their activity of having multiple partners is what's making them unhappy. It could be that the social judgment and pressure that's put on them and the restrictions about what they can and can't have in this society are kind of bummers, right? That put a big damper on your capacity to be happy in what you want to do.
Yeah, because I know that people in the past like would cite like the suicide rates of children that come out as gay in very religious families, or folks that are trans, like how much they have to deal with, and that leads to depression and many more suicide attempts. Like there's a big thing, but it's not necessarily because they were part of the LGBT spectrum that did that. It was society's reaction to who they were that led to a lot of that depression and a lot of that unhappiness with themselves, with their lives, et cetera. And so it wasn't like, but it could be, depending on who was talking about it, they can portray like, oh, well, if you're gay, they're so depressed and you more likely to commit suicide. Well, it's like, well, if this is society that's around you that treats you like this and will kick you out of your house, physically or verbally abuse you because you don't fit in with the model of our religious a particular sect, that is a larger factor on it, and I think that gets kind of overlooked a lot.
And also there's some interesting surveys of married couples to ask them, if you could have other partners, would you? And the rates of yes response are very high among both men and women. It was I was surprised that so many people would admit to it, even in an anonymous survey. But also, I don't think there's many marriage counselors going broke in this country, and I don't think that divorce courts are, don't have full dockets. Here in the U.S. anyway, even though people report that they're happier, there's other information that makes it sound like they're happy, even though they may not be fulfilled in ways that they would like to be. It might be that they're content enough, but I tend to think that people should have optimum happiness if they can get it.
Yeah, and that means different things to different people. It may be being in a monogamous relationship for one person, when someone else has a different idea of what would make them happy. And as long as people are adults, they're consenting individuals into that relationship. Yeah. Everybody's on the same page. Do you enjoy yourself? Be happy. And it doesn't have to...
And I guess what I would say, Andrei, in response is that I would rather have a society that just supports people in the things that make them happy, as long as they're not harming people.
Sure.
And if that's like what Phil was just saying, if that's a monogamous relationship for you, I think that's fine. We should support you in that. If that's a polyamorous relationship, or if you're monogamous and your partner's polyamorous, it's like, however it works for you. If you're gay, you're straight, you're trans, I just think that we need to support people in the things that they would like to do that sort of help them express who they are. And that's what I think ultimately makes people happy, is being able to be themselves.
Yeah.
So you argue the fact that there are people who don't find happiness through channeling their whole energy in a long-term committed monogamous relationship.
Right.
And there are people who are happier having multiple partners. Because I don't even think an open marriage would be very healthy to raising a child, at least not up to a certain age.
Why?
I don't know if it's just my ideas, because of the time because the child needs to have his parents or her parents to have as much time spent with him or her. That's what I think. So
I don't think I don't think polyamory means you don't spend time with your kids.
Right.
Yeah, but because you take time to date other partners and you channel
Well,
energy,
don't you think that parents should...
and
Wait a minute, though. But in a family where there's mom and dad and a couple kids, don't they get date nights?
Yeah, you're right.
No, that's cool. I appreciate your honesty, Andrei. It's
they
very
have personal
refreshing.
time, together.
Okay. Well, you know what? This call has really gone on. So I like the call. That's why it went on. It went on because I enjoyed the call.
Thank you.
But I do want to get rolling. And thank you for your call, Andrei. That was really good discussion.